Hello, everyone. Welcome to Stigma-Free Learning Live, a bi-weekly Facebook and YouTube live event hosted by the Stigma-Free Society. I am the host of this live event. My name is Samara Liberman, and I am so excited that you've tuned in today to watch this episode and to engage with some of the content that we have on our Student Mental Health Toolkit. So as always, the purpose of this live event is for me to walk you through some of the resources that we have, particularly the lesson plans that we have that are designed to be used in BC classrooms as they are all BC curriculum aligned, and to give you some more context on the lessons, some insights about how to implement them in your classrooms, some of the reasons that I chose these different content areas and curriculum areas for the lessons that are in the toolkit. So if you are new to this live event, all of the lesson plans that I talk you through are on our Student Mental Health Toolkit, which you can find at studentmentalhealthtoolkit.com. And this toolkit has a wide variety of amazing resources, some of which are lesson plans, but we also have incredible content like downloadable resources. We have different sections we have one on diversability, disability, and inclusion. We have sections for school counselors. We have section for parents, guardians, and caregivers. So it's a very robust toolkit with a lot of incredible resources. But specifically, the ones that we talk about in this live event are the lesson plans. So if you are new, again, welcome. So nice to have you. I'm going to give you a little bit of context on Stigma-Free so that you can kind of learn a little bit more about the organization, tell you about me, what my credentials are, and what got me to this position as a programs manager for the Stigma-Free Society, as well as the manager of all of the content and of the toolkit itself, and the person who writes all the lesson plans, and all that good stuff. So to start off, the Stigma-Free Society is a decade-old Canadian registered charity that looks at stigma of all kinds with a specific focus on mental health. We really try to look at the intersections of mental health with a bunch of other identity categories. So it's kind of a holistic perspective on mental health, and we do a lot of our work through preventative measures and through education, and that's where this toolkit comes in. So a bit of background on me. Again, my name is Samara Liberman. The gender pronouns that I use are she and her. As I said, I'm a programs manager for Stigma-Free, and my background is that I have a bachelor's degree in equity studies, I have a master's in teaching, and a professional development certification in early years mental health. So the work that I do for Stigma-Free is kind of a culmination of all of my passions, and it allows me to kind of bring my teaching degree into the work that I do by creating these lesson plans and kind of sifting through the curriculum and creating activities that all deal with content around stigma and mental health, mental illness, and all of that stuff. So we are going to look at a new lesson today. And the lesson that we are going to look at is the Random Acts of Kindness to Support Mental Well-Being lesson plan. And this one is targeted to the youth section, so the grades 4 to 7 section of the toolkit. So if you are looking to follow along, go to studentmentalhealthtoolkit.com and go to the youth corner, which is grades 4 to 7, and you will find this in the lesson plan and downloadable resources section of the toolkit. And you can follow along with the lesson. You can open it up and check it out and kind of go through it with me as I talk you through it. So the curriculum areas that are covered in this lesson are the health curriculum and the visual arts education curriculum. So as always, before I dive in, I'm going to encourage you to please leave a comment or some feedback for us. We are constantly looking for feedback from educators on ways that we can improve the toolkit, ways that I can improve this live event, some content areas that you think would be helpful to see in your classrooms, things that you really want to be using with your students, things that you think your students could benefit learning about or learning from. So we are, open to suggestions about content areas, about ways that we can improve So please, I really encourage you to leave your feedback here. We also have feedback that you can leave directly in the toolkit, which is either related specifically to the lesson plans or about the toolkit in general. So I would encourage you to leave feedback in some way. If you want to do it here in the comments, that's great. If you want to leave it more anonymously in the toolkit, that's also fantastic. So however you want to do that, I really encourage you to do so, because it helps us help you. So to start off, as it states in the lesson, sometimes supporting another person in their mental health journey could be as simple as doing a random act of kindness. If someone's having a bad day or experiencing a difficult period in their mental health, experiencing a small act of kindness from somebody else could be the difference in their mood shifting or changing, or remaining in this difficult place. So, it's really great for your students to see that their actions can have positive implications for somebody else. And also, in the act of doing a random act of kindness and in that way supporting somebody else's mental health, you can kind of explore with them how that can support their mental well-being as well. When we act in service of others, oftentimes it can help to shift our perspective and help to put us in a better mood, and show us that, we live in community with others, and the way that we support other people can support us as well. So they are going to be participating in a visual arts lesson where they will create an art piece that will serve as a random act of kindness for somebody else. So they're going to create something that they will then gift to somebody as a random act of kindness. So they will also, again, as I said, be reflecting on how performing random acts of kindness can support their own mental health and well-being as well. So the curriculum areas that are covered in this lesson plan, as I said, are the health education curriculum and the visual arts curriculum. So in the health education curriculum, there are a lot of specific curriculum competencies that look at the promotion of mental well-being in the students' own lives and also in the lives of the people around them. So as they will be, kind of working through some of those ideas through this lesson, and reflecting on ways that they can do this, these curriculum areas tie in extremely well to this lesson. So definitely going to be checking off those curriculum areas as you go through this lesson. And then the visual arts curriculum encourages students to use a variety of mediums to engage in purposeful play through art, and many other areas that overlap with the visual arts curriculum in this lesson plan. So as always, the way to kind of engage your students with the content that they're going to be exploring in this lesson, first and foremost, is through a video. So a way to kind of get them thinking about the topics that they're going to be looking at and exploring it in an engaging way. Kids really tend to love watching videos and kind of learning through that medium, so this is a really great way to do that. So once you've watched this video, which is, I think, very sweet and a really great way of tying in this lesson as, the speaker talks about random acts of kindness, you're going to ask some guiding questions with your students to spark discussion. So the questions that I have laid out for you here are: how would you define a random act of kindness? What random act of kindness have you experienced already? So getting them to think about their own experience with random acts of kindness. How do these random acts of kindness make you feel when they happen to you? What are the benefits of random acts of kindness on the mental well-being of those around us? And how can random acts of kindness support your own mental well-being? So again, these are the areas that they're going to be focusing on for this lesson. So it's just kind of a way to get them thinking about it, kind of facilitating conversation about it, exploring what they already know, what they've learned through the video. So use these guiding questions to frame the conversation moving forward for the remainder of this lesson around mental wellness and random acts of kindness. So these questions, as I said, will get them to reflect on their own experiences of being the recipient of a random act of kindness, how it made them feel, and ways that their mental wellness was supported through the acts of somebody else. So next, your students will be encouraged to reflect on and document experiences they've had with random acts of kindness. So when they're asked to reflect on their own experiences and how it made them feel, you can use the emotions chart that's in the lesson to do this. So using this chart will hopefully encourage them to reflect on their emotions in a deeper way than just saying it made me feel happy, and will provide some new vocabulary words that they can use to discuss their emotions. So when asked to reflect on their feelings and their emotions, oftentimes children, and honestly all of us, can kind of get caught up in the very simplified iterations of our emotions, and it can be hard for us to think of kind of more nuanced or more complex descriptors or adjectives for how we feel. So oftentimes we get caught up in the happy and the sad, and it's really nice to kind of expand your students' vocabulary, and finding ways to express their feelings differently can really support their emotional intelligence and get them to reflect on how they feel and their emotions in a deeper and more nuanced way. So next, I'm going to ask that you share this quote with your students, which is that part of depression and anxiety are feelings of helplessness and hopelessness. So practicing random acts of kindness make people feel hopeful, optimistic, and can boost their self-esteem. So reflect with them on how random acts of kindness can support their mental health and the mental health of the person receiving the random acts of kindness through this quote. So open up a dialogue about this quote with your students and have them discuss how this can be true in pairings or in small groups. So kind of get them thinking about what this quote means, how, when somebody is experiencing anxiety or depression and feeling hopeless or helpless, how experiencing that random act of kindness can make them kind of improve their emotions, even in a really small way. Sometimes, it can feel really heavy to support someone through a challenging time with their mental health, but doing something so small as just gifting them, an art piece like they're going to be doing in this lesson can do a really small shift in their mood, and that shift can kind of maybe set them off on a more positive note with their mental health journey. So for the active part of this lesson, you can explain to them that they're going to be creating an art piece to give to someone as a gesture of kindness. So have your students reflect on someone that they know that might be experiencing a harder time than usual, experiencing issues with their mental health, or someone who they think honestly could just use a random act of kindness or something to just make them feel better. So this could be a friend, a family member, a crossing guard by their school, or a staff member at their school. It could be someone at their favorite local restaurant, their coach, a ballet instructor, a music instructor, just someone in their life that they really care about, that they want to see have a positive impact from this gift that they're going to be giving them. So, let them be creative. They're welcome to create any art piece that they want, anything that they think, might support this person, or might just put a smile on their face. So it can be really personalized. If their coach, for example, really likes hockey, then it can be something that's hockey themed. Or if their mom is really into flowers, they could create some flowers out of, tissue paper or something like that, something that's very personalized and creative. So, something that speaks to them and reflects how they feel about the person they are going to be gifting it to. So some suggestions of things that they can come up with if they're struggling to think of something creative and could include a letter that they decorate beautifully for the person that they care about, paper flowers that they cut out, or, whatever they want that is tailored to the person that they are going to be gifting it to. So some accommodations and modifications that you can implement in this lesson include, for students who are visually impaired, they can write a letter to someone and you can act as a scribe for them. Or for students who their first language isn't English, they can either write their note in their first language if their art piece has words in it, or they can just create something that doesn't have words to kind of override that issue in general. So as always, you understand the needs of your students better than I do. I don't know your students, you do. So always reflect on what you think would best serve them as some accommodations and modifications that can be made in this lesson. So give your students time to create something really beautiful. Explore this with them and get them to reflect on how they want the person receiving their art piece to feel when they get it. So again, you can kind of go back to that emotions chart with them, go through some of the positive emotions, get them to reflect on, okay, what emotions am I trying to elicit from the person that I am gifting this to? How do I want them to feel? And get them to really kind of focus in on that when they are creating this art piece and have that be the driving force behind what they create and how they create it. And yeah, I think this is a really great and engaging way to get your students thinking about their emotions, somebody else's emotions, and really kind of facilitate the growth of emotional intelligence in your students. So finally, for the lesson closure, have your students reflect on how creating this art piece made them feel. Spark a discussion about how they predict the experience of giving this art piece to the person they have intended to give it to will make them feel. You can give your students time to share their experience with their class after they've given their art piece to somebody. And then you can discuss with them how mental well-being can be extremely difficult to navigate, but sometimes it just takes a simple act of kindness to really make someone's day and to also make their day. So that's the lesson for today. I really hope that you found it fun and engaging. I think this is a lesson that I find is really accessible and approachable for your students because it's pretty light. And instead of looking at things from a mental health perspective that's kind of a little bit more challenging, we're looking at ways that we can really support somebody else's mental health and our own mental health in the process. I think this is something that you can really kind of carry through with a lot of other things that you do with your students. You can get them thinking about, kind of tie everything back into this. If they're having kind of interpersonal issues in the classroom with somebody else, you can kind of get them to say like, okay, like, remember when we did this lesson about somebody else's feelings, use that emotions chart, get them to think about how they are feeling in this situation, how the other person might be feeling, facilitating that empathy piece as well. So there's lots of different avenues that you can take with this lesson, and you can kind of use it as the foundation for a lot of other really important conversations to have with your students. So thank you for tuning in. I hope you found this helpful. I hope you use this lesson with your class. Tune in next week where we're going to be looking at the kind of corresponding lesson for the grades 8 to 12. So if you're a high school teacher, that's a lesson that's going to really serve you. As always, please, I encourage you to leave comments, questions, feedback in the comment section of this video or in the toolkit itself. And I hope you have a really great day, and I really hope that you do a random act of kindness for yourself, do a random act of kindness for someone in your life. Thank you so much for tuning in, and I will see you next week. Not next week.